Hey, Barry and Ben, what took you so long to get back together? It was like 20 years since you last worked together?
Well, we were trying to find the script.
Yes.
The reality is, we were talking about this earlier. I'm not sure why we didn't. I know there was one, I believe there was one project, but it never came together. But it certainly was, the short answer is it's been way too long.
Way too long.
So what made you think he was right for the role now then?
Well, not, I mean, he seemed the perfect choice, because in other words, he's, when I used him in Liberty Heights, I was thinking, he was doing comedy, then he moved into other things and did some great work. And then this popped up into my head and I thought, gee, that he's got the ability and the range that I think Harry Haft, and I think the commitment to a difficult character to play. I mean, physically, what happens in the camps, learning to box, to be an awkward boxer that is trying to become more of a professional boxer, the emotional range of the whole piece. It was very clear in my mind that Ben Foster could do this role.
Well, Ben, how good did you get at boxing? Were you good at that? Is that something that, it just kind of came naturally, or did you not need to really be that good?
Well, Harry wasn't a particularly great boxer, but he certainly was tough as hell. Inconceivable what he endured. It was, I mean, I enjoyed learning the sweet science. My father boxes, his father boxed, so it's something that I took pleasure in, but I by no means claim that he was a top athlete. He's a survivor.
Sure.
And his story got him fights.
Well, when you decided to take the role, then did you say, I have to lose the weight? That's a given for me? Or how did that all come about?
Yeah, when you read the script and talk to Barry, and we terribly excited that he called me and read it that day. You have to get down to how you're going to do the thing, and I needed to drop the weight for myself. I needed to see how far I could go and still be able to fight. As I intuited, not only it has to look credible. When you see photographs of the concentration camp, when you see the footage, dropping 10 pounds or 15 pounds would be, I couldn't face myself. And so much of it is perhaps self-deception, what we do, the trait of an actor. So at least for myself is getting to a point where I'm not thinking about it and I'm not self-conscious in any way. I'm just the way that I imagine a musician would feel music.
How difficult though was it to just actually box when you were that thin? Was it?
Yeah, it's always tricky to talk about these things because it's make-believe. We're professional make-believers. We just never gave up the imaginary game in the backyard that we play as kids. It's just on a much higher level. You can imagine it when you're fighting at deficit, you have less resources. You gas out quicker. There are days that are blacked out. I don't remember. And that's just because you're starving the body, you're starving the brain. Again, this is a choice. This was a choice that I made that I intuited would help serve the rest of Harry's story and my own performance, be able to not think about it.
Just being in that ring though, in that setting, how grueling and how mentally draining was that?
It was horrifying, Bruce. It was horrifying. Well, the set that Krecka designed and the way that Barry likes to shoot, which which is do your homework and be ready to improvise or play with new colors. Walking onto that set when you have men in SS officers shouting at you and hungry, caged human beings surround, it's very easy to fall into that nightmare.
Yeah, it's grueling to watch. It's grueling to watch. The one thing, Barry, that you did that I found very interesting was how you changed the look at each different time period. When did that strike you, that you would have, this kind of black and white era, you would have the washed out color era? When did all that come into play?
That came in very early, and to separate it. So because, you are sliding back and forth in time constantly. So in a sense, for the audience, that it's like they begin to understand one from the other, as opposed to if they all be the same, then you might get, somewhat confused. When we went to Auschwitz, and we were walking around, and the grass was green, and some things had certain, vivid in terms of color, but the green of the grass and the trees completely threw me. And I realized, and I was thinking black and white when I saw it. It's like I can't relate to it in color. And I kept thinking and talking to the cinematographer, how in the world could we do it? We can't really do it, and so that's how we went, in black and white. Schindler's obviously did black and white, but the entire film stayed in that particular time frame. Here, it wouldn't have made sense to be going through all of this in terms of that. So, and because that the boxing, the camps are basically remembrances that Harry has. That's what's haunting him. The past is haunting him. And so the idea that it's in another color, it's easier in terms of, cutting back, doing that kind of thing. So it came together rather early.
Did you shoot chronologically then? So then everything would be.
We did shoot, yes, we did, actually. We shot all the camp stuff. We shut down for a period of time when Ben could start eating, and which was the middle section. And then I think we did all that before we went to the end, which is in Tybee Island, Georgia. So we did do the chronological in terms of time periods.
And Ben, how difficult was it having those prosthetic things on your face in the older years? Was that a difficult thing to act around or to deal with?
What prosthetics?
Oh, come on now, you know better.
I enjoyed my pasta immensely. Well, the designer is one of our great makeup artists, and I've worked with him for years. Jamie Kellman. It's I don't really think about it. Yeah, it just helps me feel. It's like when you're getting ready for bed. It's like putting on your pajamas. If you put on a tuxedo, that would be very confusing. Yeah. I wasn't confused. It just felt like I was slipping into him.
Did you have film of him? Did you have any kind of footage that you could look at to kind of get a sense of him?
Yes, the Shoah Foundation was provided a lot of insight and their library of testimonies. So there is Harry's testimony, but upon watching it, I didn't want to do an impression of Harry. I was looking more for an essence and finding the man in myself. We did a lot of work with a Yiddish expert to make sure that the dialect was specific to the area. At Bełchatów, Poland, we got down to the neighborhood so that Yiddish would feel lived in. So we took his accent, but it wasn't so much, just want to avoid impersonating anything.
watching those films, and what impressed you most about him? What kind of resonated when you said that I've got to capture that?
Oh gosh. When one thinks about survivors of the camps, we think about the wounded and the weak and the grief. What I was so shook by was the brute confidence that comes with surviving.
Yeah.
And understanding that his story, or the story that we're telling, is also deeply romantic. Harry's a romantic. It might not be the first word that we think about him, but it's all for his love back home. And that hope for love, to see love again, is the thing that got him through. That
Yeah.
was shocking to find.
It resonates, I think. I really do.
Nice. Good.
Thank you both for doing this too. And tell Billy Magnuson he did a great job. That's a difficult role. And to work with you, Ben, under those circumstances, wow. So thank you both. I'm waiting to see that this is received as well as it should be, because we need films like this now. We really do.
Appreciate it, Bruce. Thank you. Thank you
Yes,
for your time.
very much.